He's clobbered the competition in debates, won in New Hampshire, and now romped through Super Tuesday. Yet we're still having to remind ourselves that Donald Trump is for real. On this side of the Atlantic, everyone's still asking us why Americans are voting for the real estate magnate / reality TV star. We'll, of course, be putting that to our panel and also ask about the prospect of a matchup in the fall between Trump and Hillary Clinton. With most primaries still to come, our surprise is still possible. How will insurgent candidacies, both on the left and right, weigh on the race to the White House? And what impact will this election have on the wider world? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at how Trump seems to be towering over the field. With us from Birmingham, Alabama, Sean McCutcheon, delegate. I guess we could call you a delegate-elect after last night's results?
Yes, sir. Trump won big in Alabama.
Okay. Many thanks for being with us. Thanks for joining us from Washington. Marco Rubio supporter Patrick Ruffini of political data and polling group Echelon Insights.
Good to be with you.
We're joined here in the studio by Leah Pizarro, former advisor to U.S. President Bill Clinton. No points for guessing who you support. and from New York, Bernie Sanders supporter and Democratic Party strategist Nomiki Kunst. Welcome to the show. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Now, when Super Tuesday began, some predicted Trump would win all but Texas. In the end, well, he didn't win quite as many. He won 7 states. Texas Senator Ted Cruz 3, including the big prize, Texas, of course. And Florida Senator Marco Rubio winning in Minnesota. Trump insists, though, he's not finished surprising the Republican Party.
I know people are going to find that a little bit hard to believe, but believe me, I am a unifier. Once we get all of this finished, I'm going to go after one person. That's Hillary Clinton. We're going to be more inclusive. I think we're going to be more unified. And I think we're going to be a much bigger party. And I think we're going to win in November.
Of course, his rivals, though, they don't see it that way.
For the candidates who have not yet won a state, who have not racked up significant delegates, I ask you to prayerfully consider our coming together, uniting. For those who have supported other candidates, we welcome you on our team, standing united as one. That is the only way to beat Donald Trump.
What's at stake, my friends, is not just the future of America, but also the future of the conservative movement. I will campaign as long as it takes and wherever it takes to ensure that I am the next president of the United States. We will not allow the party of Lincoln and Reagan to fall into the hands of a con artist.
Sean McCutcheon, your reaction to those statements by Trump's nearest rivals, who seem to be implying that they're ready to support an everyone except Trump candidate.
Well, I'm a little shocked by all the statements about the Republican Party itself that Rubio continues to make when in Alabama it's at record levels, record fundraising, record turnout. As you know, Trump won huge in Alabama. I give a lot of that credit to the Sessions endorsement, but Rubio doesn't really speak for the Republican Party. We're in more states. We're larger, and fundraising is better than it has been. Turnout is huge. So I think he's just dead wrong about a lot of that party stuff he spouts off.
Patrick Ruffini, it is true. We saw record turnout in many states on Tuesday.
Yes, absolutely. I should clarify I'm not aligned or supporting the Marco Rubio campaign, but I am not a supporter of Donald Trump either. I do think that there has been record turnout, and in particular in my state of Virginia, there was record turnout in the state of Virginia for the Republican primary, and it turned out that Donald Trump was supposed to win by 14 points in Virginia and only won by 3 points. I think a lot of those people are certainly, I think Donald Trump is bringing a lot of people out, but I think a lot of people are coming out to vote against Donald Trump as well. And I think we saw that especially in a state like Virginia, which wasn't really supposed to be that close, turned out to be that close. And that was the case in a number of states last night that Donald Trump was supposed to win comfortably, and he won very narrowly. Vermont, Alaska, losing in Minnesota. So I think it's not quite the romp that Mr. Trump supporters would like to suggest that it is.
But come on, he won 7 out of 11 primaries.
He did, but he now controls 46% of the delegates to the Republican National Convention, and that is more than any other candidate. Ted Cruz, though, is pretty not that far behind him. Remember, the measure here is not how many states you've won, it's how many delegates to the Republican National Convention that you control. And frankly, if he does not get to the majority before the primaries are over, it is going to be a very difficult convention for him.
Leah Pizarre, your thoughts on was Trump the biggest winner on the night or not, in your view?
On the night, mathematically, sure, but he's far from having wrapped it up. Clearly he's ahead, but
Against a divided field.
Against a divided field, but I think races can still evolve, and let's see what keeps on happening. And we also have a very unusual system in the United States, which was conceived by the founding fathers, who believed very strongly in checks and balances, and who put in all of these mechanisms that I think you and I are having trouble explaining to an international audience, with delegates, superdelegates, and all sorts of measures that could possibly kick in. So it's, I will say, perhaps with wishful thinking, it's not a done deal yet.
So perhaps with wishful thinking. Interesting. Nomiki Kunst, do you agree with Leah Pizarre that, in your view, the Republican race to the nomination is still very much up in the air?
Not at all. I'm sorry to say. The founding fathers put in checks and balances, but they didn't build the party systems the way that they are today. The Republican Democratic parties both rely on delegates. They have, a little bit of a different system to reflect the demographics of the times. I think what the Republican Party is going through today is what the Democratic Party went through 30 years ago with the grassroots movement, and that's when we instilled the superdelegate system. So, the grassroots is definitely taking the majority of the vote in the Republican Party right now. I think the Republicans have lost control, and they don't really know what to do next. Will it go to a brokered convention? I'm not really sure. I think we all fantasize about a brokered convention, but the reality is it would probably break apart the party even more. And right now, the Republican Party needs to unify, and if that means sitting down with Donald Trump and getting a bunch of people on his camp that are more in line with the establishment, that would probably be a better bet than trusting the future in Marco Rubio's campaign, which really hasn't been able to set its path forward.
Well, Sean McCutcheon, let me ask you about this, because everybody's looking at other possible scenarios. What are your thoughts when you hear people talk about a brokered convention and the sort?
Well, I'll be at that convention as a delegate, and so I'll continue to vote Trump in the multiple votes, and I still think Trump would come out on top. I don't think somebody you hadn't heard of can win under that scenario. Certainly, negotiations can go on after the first vote, but you would still have a lot of Trump delegates, okay? So those Trump delegates would be trying to make deals with, say, some of the minority delegate holders to join that group. So still, the one with the most delegates is most likely to win, even if it's not 51%. But going forward, Trump is looking good because he's got 46% so far, and the number of candidates at some point will reduce, and there's winner-take-all states. And furthermore, the states like California and New York are going to be more, the big state of Texas was won by Cruz, but the remaining big states are going to go to Trump. So as the time goes on, I think it's likely that Trump wins anyway.
Sean, what drew you to Donald Trump, who's not at all from your part of the United States, and who hasn't always been a Republican? What drew you to him? And
Well, I met him back in 2014 at the Southern Leadership Conference in New Orleans for the first time, and he had been coming to CPAC for years. I'd heard a lot of his speeches, so he's been planning this run. I was not surprised when he ran, but he's been delivering a strong conservative message, so I like that. Furthermore, the celebrity, knowing how politics works and name ID and dealing with the media, I thought those skills would be good, and in fact they have been. So I
Even when he makes
with,
even when he makes statements that shock the rest of the world, like about Mexicans being rapists, about sending back or preventing Muslims from entering the United States.
well, Trump delivers his own message, and he's got to do that. If he lets other people talk for him, like so many candidates have done in the past, then he may lose doing that. So I don't. You know, Trump has got to deliver his message and stay on his message, and he's done that with a broad message. So I think the messaging is he really is an outsider. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. He was part of the quote establishment, but he is an outsider in the fact that he doesn't have a lot of office experience. So, but his messaging skills that he's developed in the media over the years have proved very valuable. So. I don't know what choice he had, because the establishment never wanted to select him from the to begin with. And if he let them message, he would have been finished. So he's done what he had to do.
Patrick Ruffini, the last time you were on our show, we said, oh, but you know, come Super Tuesday, will Trump have the ground game? Turns out that he does. I mean, or at least he's gotten the results. Why have we been caught out? Why has the Republican establishment been caught out?
Well, I think it goes to something Sean mentioned. This is a master media manipulator, and he's been that way for 30 years. And I think his skills in that department are without parallel, possibly not just in politics, but I think overall, I think he knows how to get attention for himself. Now, that isn't necessarily always very good attention. It is attention that sometimes plays well in certain elements of the Republican base. I don't deny that. That's something we as Republicans need to understand and grapple with. But they do not play well with the general electorate. He would go into a general election as the most with the worst unfavorable rating of any candidate in modern history, a good deal more unpopular than Hillary Clinton, who would be the second most